everyone, welcome to a quick little hip mobilizing sequence for you today. 2 blocks will be useful for you, but not essential. If you've got them, great. If not, you'll do just fine. And if you have super sensitive knees, then you may also want something to pad them. You're actually going to start by folding up the front of your mat, maybe about halfway or so. You can even roll it if you want to use a little bit of extra height underneath your seat. That could be nice. And you're going to take a seat on that first little folded half of your mat, and use your hands beside you or behind you to kind of prop yourself upright here, so that you can see your legs out in front of you and have them parallel to one another. So flexed toes is great. Will help you kind of see where neutral is. We'll call this neutral. And I'd like for you to just externally rotate your right thigh. Okay? So as you find that external rotation, you're going to see your right toes and your right knee spin outwards, but try not to start it from the foot. Instead, start it from the hip. Okay? Then let your right knee bend out towards the right. You'll draw it up towards your chest and then lengthen the leg down. And you're just going to do that again a few times, so kind of drawing these little circles with your right thigh in space, and it's helpful if you're on a slippery surface versus on a sticky yoga mat. And then you can just switch the direction of those little circles, and you could of course lean back if that feels easier for you, no problem. Okay, so just circling the right thigh around in space. One more time, and then you'll pause. Okay, so I like sitting upright at least to start, so that you're not kind of slouching through your spine. But right here now, again, find in your left leg the external rotation from your hip. Okay, and it's tempting to kind of bend the knee, or add something through your ankle, which both of those are options. But try not to cheat in those other joints, and really just isolate the pure external rotation of your left hip. And then let your left knee bend and draw those circles. Okay, and of course, as you draw the leg up in towards your torso, your abdomen might kind of get in the way, so that's when leaning back might be nice. But just try not to slouch in your lower back, instead stay lifted through your chest. Okay, and then just go ahead, switch the direction of those little hip circles if you haven't already. And also get to clean the floor while you're at it. Okay, and then you'll release. Okay, you can give the legs a little bit of a shake. And you're going to slide your folded mat out from underneath your hips and make your way into a tabletop position. If you like practicing with blocks underneath your hands, because you feel like that gives you a little bit of extra space, especially if you're pregnant, then by all means slip the blocks under your palms, but they're totally optional. You don't have to use them, okay? So just whatever you prefer. You're going to take a neutral spine in your tabletop position today, so without any cow or cat at this point. Keep your lower belly engaged and lifted, and then send your right leg back up in line with your right hip. Okay, take a full breath in here. You'll flex your right toes. Draw your right knee now out towards your right upper arm. So here's a little bit of that external rotation again. Right leg will return behind you on your inhale, and then out towards the upper arm as you exhale. Last time, breathe in. Knee towards the upper arm, and this time you'll stay with that leg forward, but could you reach the knee a little wider out beside you in space? Straighten your leg there any amount and set your right foot down, so it's roughly in line with your hip. Begin to draw little circles with your pelvis around in space. So now you're stirring not only the right thigh bone, but also your left thigh bone in and around your hip. Switch the direction of your stirring. And just a couple more times in this second direction. And once you've stacked your shoulders over your wrists, once again, take a deep breath in here, tuck your back toes, and as you exhale, round your spine, kind of like cat, but send your hips all the way back towards that left heel. Flex your right toes and find the external rotation, so like you're wrapping the back of your seat down and underneath you so that your right toes flex up in space. Give yourself just a couple more breaths here. You also get a nice stretch through the arch of your left foot, your left toes. And if your hips don't go all the way back towards your heel, don't worry about it. You'll come forward on your next breath in, plant your right foot down where it is, out beside you. And then as you exhale, tuck your back toes and come up to this wide straddle-like variation of a downward dog. Okay, so it's as though your right foot is standing at 3 o'clock if your hands were 12 and your left foot were 6. And you let your head hang here, just one more breath. And go ahead for a moment, just bending your right knee as you inhale, any amount of bend. Straightening the leg as you exhale. And bend your left knee. Breathe in. Doesn't have to be a big bend. And release the leg down. Good. Send your right leg up behind you from there to a 3-legged downward facing dog. You just stand your right foot back down beside your left and you'll shift towards your tabletop position. From your hands and knees again, find a neutral spine. Okay, so head and tail in one line. Have your toes tucked today. Send your left leg back from there in line with your left hip as you breathe in. And then draw the left knee wide out towards your left upper arm on your exhale. Again, like this. Inhale. Keep thinking of lifting your chest up off of your shoulders. Exhale towards your left upper arm. One more time. Breathe in. And then this time, as the knee comes towards the upper arm now, you'll keep it lifted, reach it wider out to the left. Straighten your left leg there any amount and set your left foot down. Go ahead and begin to circle your hips around in space. You know, as you draw those circles with your pelvis, let your left knee bend. Okay? And don't worry about your left foot staying planted. Okay? Switch the direction of those circles. One last time in the second direction. And then from there, as your shoulders stack back over your wrists, tuck your back toes if you haven't already. Round your spine like cat and sit your hips all the way back or as far back as they'll go towards your right heel. Externally rotate your left thigh this time so that your left toes rotate up towards the ceiling. Take just a couple of breaths here. Come forward on your next inhale, stand your left foot down where it is. As you exhale, go ahead, lift your hips up and back so you have this weird straddle-like variation of downward dog again. Head heavy. Bend your left knee for a moment as you inhale. Lengthen the leg on your exhale. And then right knee will bend as you breathe in. Straighten it as you breathe out. Good. From there, it's a 3-legged downward dog. Your left leg will go up and back. And then stand your left foot down beside the right. Shift onto your knees once more through that tabletop position. This time, clear your blocks out from underneath your hands if you were using them, and come to lay on your back. Once you arrive on your back, you can ground your feet fairly close to your pelvis. Take a full breath in. As you exhale, engage through the lower belly. Lift your hips and slide the block in underneath your pelvis. And you can choose how much of a lift you'd like underneath your hips. So if you want less, then keep the block low and wide. If you want a medium lift, then just flip it up one height. And alternatively, a block on its highest height, whatever feels best for you. You can let this be totally passive. Just relax your arms Let your breath be heavy, and alternatively, if you want to dial this up a little bit, you could either hold the edges of your mat with your hands or hold the edges of your block and loop your shoulders underneath. Try not to collapse into the back of your neck wherever you are, so keep a slight lift of your chin and your chest. Three more breaths wherever you are. And when you're ready to release from here, exhale once again, connect into the strength of your legs. Press into your feet, lift your seat. Slowly lower your spine down. You can heel toe your feet about as wide as your mat. Tense your knees in towards one another. And let your hands come to the top of your thighs here, right at the root, right where your pelvis meets your thigh bones. Press your hands into your legs like you're trying to stretch your legs further away from your head or your torso further away from your pelvis. And just one more breath here. If you have longer to rest where you are today, you're welcome to stay. And otherwise, go ahead, place a hand to your belly, a hand to your heart. And let's take one final cycle of breath here to seal this brief moment in time where you've spent some energy connecting to your body, connecting to your breath. Deep inhale through your nose. Release out your mouth. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste.